It's 6:42. Good morning to you. Let's have a look at some of the newspapers for you this morning.
Yes, and the Sunday Times reports that 3 female MPs have been provided with taxpayer-funded security due to rising safety concerns.
The Sunday Telegraph has MPs being safeguarded by private security because of fears of people who've been radicalised.
The Observer leads with Sir Keir Starmer's allegations of Rishi Sunak sheltering extremists.
The Sunday Mirror says MP Lee Anderson's potential resignation. Well, no, they're saying they should kick him out of the party full stop, aren't they? That's what they're saying this morning.
The Mail on Sunday leads with accusations of hypocrisy against Deputy Labour leader Angela Rayner over her £48,000 profit from an ex-council house sale.
All right, let's see what's making the news this morning with author and journalist Susan Holder and political commentator Andy Williams. Very, very good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Andy, let's start with the Observer, should we? Looking at Sir Keir Starmer accusing Rishi Sunak of harbouring extremists within his party. I mean, to me, this is taking it a little bit out of context, isn't it? Is he just trying to deflect from the fact that he still seems to have an anti-Semitic problem within his own party?
Well, I think there is still, absolutely, within the Labour Party, a problem with anti-Semitism on the fringes. I think he's pointing out rightly that, similarly, the Conservative Party has become, or at least a fringe of the Conservative Party has become more extreme in the last few years. And these comments are representative of that. I think absolutely, it's completely right that they have suspended the whip, because the important thing is that language matters in politics. So Lee Anderson was trying to make a particular point. He did it in a very clumsy way, and in a way that, I mean, let's be honest, if he'd been talking about the Jewish community, there is no doubt that people will have said that these were anti-Semitic comments.
Yeah, I think that's probably a valid point.
It is a valid point, yeah. And you're right there, the language is very important, but everyone is kind of now ready to jump on anything that's said. And, I have to say, Lee Anderson must have known that. You can't now be walking about... We're all kind of second-thinking everything we're saying publicly, because you've got to be very careful. You don't want to be misread. And if he didn't want to be misread, he possibly should have spoken with a little bit more care.
Yeah. He did seem quite angry in the interview, didn't he? And I understand that. It's, we were talking about this the other day. It's an emotive issue.
Yeah.
But I think he let his frustration run away with him. And unfortunately, what he said was pretty unseemly.
Well, we didn't see an apology from Lee Anderson, but he did say that his words were clumsy, but they were born out of sheer frustration at what is happening to our beautiful capital city. So we didn't get an apology.
Yeah, and there's many things I could get upset with Sadiq Khan about what's been happening to London in particular. And anyone who's even visited will know that it's a lot more difficult to get around. There's a lot of problems there. There's a lot of things I'd go at him for, and what Lee Anderson chose to go at him for, to say he's been taken over by a Muslim section, isn't really where I'd start.
Yeah. Well, no.
I mean, giving his capital city away to his mates. I mean, that is pretty.
Yeah.
It's basically conspiracy-type language, isn't it? Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
No.
OK.
Do you think the rhetoric needs to be dialed down on both sides, though? So anti-Semitic and Islamophobia? Because, I mean, looking at the front page of the Telegraph this morning, Susan...
Yeah.
I mean, we are seeing a real threat to MPs' safety, aren't we?
We are, and there is a huge interview with the Detective Chief and Superintendent Moira Lovegrove about all this. I mean, obviously, we've had cases where David Amos MP, Joe Cox MP have been murdered, and any sort of threat or fear that MPs now have of speaking their minds is it's just out of control, that they can't feel that they can say what they want. And Lee Anderson, for all we might criticise him, it's a point of view. It's a point. If you don't agree with it, the whip's been revoked. If you don't agree with what people say, don't vote for them. Our power should be at the ballot box. We don't need to personally attack people. We don't need to have a situation where we feel that our MPs are in danger. And
I think that is Oh, you could be a journalist, Susan.
Could I?
What a great way of phrasing it. Our power should be at the ballot box. We don't need to personally attack MPs.
Well, we don't. I mean,
that's exactly right.
With that, we have that power. We don't need further power. I read the other day there are actually some of the. I think it was the Just Stop Oil protesters are talking about... do you remember they went on some roofs of MPs' houses? They're talking about actually attacking MPs' houses as part of their game plan moving forward. I mean, it doesn't matter what subject it is. That is not acceptable. No. We cannot have people who are meant to represent us attacked and feeling in danger in that way. We are going to lose good people. Yeah. With the kind of people who are going to want to take that job are not going to be perhaps the best people to have. They're going to be people who perhaps are of that mindset themselves. We don't want those people in charge. So there is a big interview in the Telegraph about this. And they are reviewing existing security measures. Tom Tugendhat, the Security Minister, has said they're reviewing existing security measures in the wake of all of this. But, I mean, how much can you do? It's a cultural problem. It's not something that can be fixed with money and bodyguards.
Oh, talking of money, should we talk about throwing money up north? 5 billion quid to improve transport links.
Well, it's a great idea, isn't it? I don't know why they didn't think of this before, apparently.
Well, I think
they thought of it and they didn't do it. That's the problem, isn't it? They've been talking about this for years and not done anything.
In a brilliant move, Rishi Sunak has vowed to revitalise Britain's forgotten regions. Well, I don't know who forgot about it. I didn't forget about it. Did Rishi forget about it? By putting all the money from HS2 into the Red Wall areas. Well, that's not new, is it? That's not a new idea. If you've ever tried to go from Sheffield to Manchester, it's just impossible.
Well, part of the whole HS2 thing, we've done this anyway. Mind you, that seems...
But it wasn't. It really wasn't. It was all being concentrated on this getting to Birmingham 10 minutes earlier nonsense.
Oh, no, but then if it was going to Manchester...
Yeah, but
then they were talking
that was the first bit they got rid of.
Manchester to Leeds and all the rest of it, weren't they?
Yeah.
So all that actually would have happened anyway.
It would have done, apart from the fact it wasn't going to happen because it was all getting so out of control, spending-wise, that those were the bits that went, and we were just keeping this, getting to Birmingham quicker and everything else. Anyway, they're now saying that more than £4.7 billion will be offered to councils across the North and Midlands for projects such as road improvements, new rail stations or better bus services. Well, get on with it then, because we need it desperately.
It is so desperately needed.
So desperate. I mean, the real story here is that our record on infrastructure in this country in the last 20 years, going back even further, I think, it's a scandal. We just can't get anything built. You know, HS2 was originally supposed to cost 32 billion. It's now going to cost 71 billion. 71 billion.
And that's just to get to Birmingham.
To take 10 minutes off the journey time to Birmingham. I mean, seriously.
I love Birmingham, but no one needs to get there 10 minutes earlier. And if you do, get the earlier train.
Yeah, but what do you then reckon of the fact that Andy Burnham, Andy Street, all the rest of it are saying, well, actually, we can get private funding to do this. It's going to be cheaper. We're going to build it anyway.
Well, I mean,
it's possible, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, surely it does. And I think harnessing the private sector investment's really important. But there was an election campaign that was fought on this idea of levelling up, on investing in the north, and it just hasn't happened. So if it is going to happen, delighted. Great to see that. But it just... Where's the action?
I mean, and at the risk of being very, very basic, can I just say the word potholes? Really, could we not just fix potholes? That would just getting around. But I drove the other day from Manchester through Cheshire, and I felt like I was some sort of slalom off-road drive. The amount of potholes I was weaving around and kind of going into the other lane just to it was absolutely ridiculous. It has got to a point now where the danger on the roads is so ridiculous, and that's where the money should be going.
But that's local councils.
It is local councils.
Why aren't they doing it?
Why aren't they doing it?
I hit a pothole last night. Awful bang. And I was like, oh, my goodness, I burst a tyre. I hadn't. Thank God.
Well, do your suspension any good?
They're everywhere. And it was dark, so you can't see them on the road.
No, you can't.
Everywhere.
And when it rains, they're full of water. I mean, we could go on forever about potholes. But these are the sort of things that money needs to be spent on.
And it matters to people.
People really care about it, absolutely, because it causes problems in their daily lives.
It impacts everything, literally.
Well, Kingswood, wasn't it? Kingswood? The MP there, the new MP in Kingswood, was saying...
Wellingborough, I think.
Was it in Wellingborough? Was saying it was one on potholes.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
So that's all she hears on the doorstep.
But that's also ridiculous in that she was going for a job that actually she can't influence what the council does about potholes. So, I mean, it's just like... I mean, that's totally crackers, isn't it? Something really does need to be done about that. Andy, Boris Johnson in the Mail on Sunday. An impassioned plea for more support, more supplies for Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, as Ellie was saying earlier, he has been steadfast in his support for Ukraine over the last few years. And I think it is really important that the international community keeps up, the pressure. I think Zelensky's done an incredible job, a kind of PR job, really, to keep applying that pressure to pour funding in, because that is what is going to keep Ukraine in the fight, really. And you know, my concern is that there are other people on the international stage who want to pull back and withdraw, and I think that'd be a disaster.
So we had a commentator on just a few days ago saying, "Oh, Zelensky's a crook." Now, I have to say I don't believe that. But the problem is that is a thought which is dissipating now.
Certainly in the United States it is. I mean, there's if you look at not just... We know that Donald Trump wants to pull out of Ukraine, but if you look at the polling in America, there's a huge number of people, a significant proportion, who think that America should just pull their funding, and they think faraway land, don't care, get on with it. And that's really worrying.
I think Boris Johnson has been very... his positivity on this is actually quite impressive. I don't get impressed by Boris very much, but his interview about the situation in Ukraine and the way he's across that, and just that positivity he has, actually, of really... He does seem to believe that Ukraine can do it. I do find that quite a positive thing that you can kind of get behind and believe in.
Yeah. And the Ukrainians are so grateful for him.
Yeah.
He's so adored in that country.
Yeah. Let's change tack. Let's do a big U-turn, should we? Because I mentioned this at the top of the show. Ed Sheeran has apparently donated underpants and socks to a charity shop, and they've seen a huge... This is in the Sunday Mirror. Huge boost, I suppose. I just wonder...
Can I just clarify? Are these Ed Sheeran worn by?
Yeah,
why
old socks and pants.
You don't give underwear to charity,
That's
do you?
what I said.
I don't think that's a thing.
See, you have some pop music and rock music connections.
You want me to squirrel through my husband's underwear drawer and see whether I can...
Noddy holder pants.
Pair of noddy holder pants. Well, if anyone's interested, you can contact me. I can, we'd perhaps do a private arrangement if that's something you're particularly interested in.
Well,
we can negotiate a fee for worn socks of noddy. He has got some crazy socks, so maybe they would be interesting.
But he has been... I mean, there must be... huge fans must sort of want any old...
Do you know what?
Bit of tat that
Funnily enough, I got a message yesterday to say that on eBay right now is a desk, like an old-school desk, that people are claiming on eBay. I think they're asking £350 or something. It's Noddy Holder's old school desk. And it has Noddy Holder sat here, written on it, not in Noddy's writing. Now... I've no idea. Noddy has no knowledge of that desk, but somebody is trying to make a buck. People do that all the time. We once had a house clearance and we had loads of stuff taken away, and 2 days later, half of it appeared all over eBay, and somebody paid thousands of pounds for it was rubbish. Just rubbish.
Oh, just chuck it all on eBay yourself next time.
I know, I never thought.
No, well, there you go. All right, Susan, Andy, thank you both very much indeed. Good to see you. We've got lots more still to come, haven't we?
We certainly do, but first, let's take a look at the weather with Greg.